Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Zinger's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to this Monday, April 24th edition of Zinger's PreMarket Prep. I'm Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. Got a jam-packed show for you today. Of course, we've got to talk about the reason for the rally this morning, and that is, of course, that French election. That market is loving the news out of Paris today. And the Euro banks are responding. The home market's responding. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the earnings stocks from today. Earnings reports. We got Halliburton. We got Hasbro. We got KMB are the main ones to discuss. We have two guests for you as well. Our first guest will be at 8:15. That's Dan Zanger. He's a trader and the founder of ChartPattern.com. And then at 8:35, we're going to be joined by Tommy Lackey. He is the managing partner and portfolio manager at Relativity Capital Advisors. Joel, how was your weekend?
Very good, very good. Got a little swimming competition in and did pretty well for an old man. So I'm not totally hurting today, but man, I'm not doing as good as the S&P 500 index futures are, trading up a whopping 27 points, over 1% on the day. Right back at the top of the trading range. Let me show you on the daily charts here. All it takes is one French election. And we're right back at all-time highs. I'm calling 23.78.75, your March 21st high. Put another target on the upside and then getting into the 23.80 handle, although I'm going to have a hard time buying anything off the open. Crude, under $50, but not by much. Up 29 cents here at 48.91. A little bit of a rally. Hard 3-day sell-off, actually a 4-day sell-off, trying to regain the $50 level. And if everything's okay in the markets, then who needs to own gold or silver? Gold down 1870 at 1270.74, and silver right back under 18, well under 18. I don't know how I took my eye off this. 1774 down 11 cents. And Dennis, you did a little celebrating this weekend too.
Yeah, Oilers with their first playoff series victory in 10 years, because I haven't been in the playoffs in 10 years, and we won our first series, so we beat the Sharks over the weekend, so I was pretty happy about that. But you want to know the craziest thing about Game 6?
Tell us.
What happened?
It's that they sold out the arena in Edmonton. And you know why that was crazy?
Because the game was in California.
Yeah, the game was in San Jose. And they sold out the arena in Edmonton so that 18,000 fans could watch it on the Jumbotron. That's incredible.
They've done that here in Detroit too. How did
Have they?
Yeah, they've done that.
Sold it out?
I don't know if they've sold it out,
right.
but
that's,
I think
18,000 fans, so that's incredible. I couldn't believe they sold out the arena. But anyways,
well, I mean, what else is there to do on a Saturday night in Edmonton?
That's the yeah, in Edmonton. Okay, well, you got me there.
All right.
Still
how did McConnor David do?
He got the empty net goal, so he had a quiet series, and that's the good news, is that actually was quiet and they still won the series. So maybe if he starts to pick it up, maybe Edmonton can do something here. I kind of like their chances against Anaheim. Anaheim's going to be a tough out. So anyways, it's not a hockey show. We're going to lose all our listeners here if we start talking hockey the whole show. So let's get back to the markets here. Incredible here over the weekend. French election. Spencer, enlighten us here why we are up so much.
Oh, yeah, the markets are loving this one. So the French election is a two-parter. The first part was over the weekend. Marine Le Pen, the far-right populist, and Emmanuel Macron, the pro-European centrist. They are the winners. This is largely expected, not a huge surprise. They were kind of the two front-runners all along. Macron now the favorite to win the final round, which is May 7th. So it seems like the losing candidates from the weekend are now rallying around him, as opposed to Marine Le Pen. She's the far right anti-EU populist. And yeah, so it's Le Pen and Macron. I think the market likes Macron's chances to win. If Le Pen wins, it'll be the end of the EU. So I think the market's pricing in a Macron victory. He seems to be the favorite.
Obviously, everything is up here this morning, but just take a look at Deutsche Bank. This is, we can go right back to our Deutsche Bank indicator. It's up 10% here this morning. We're trading at 18.18. We closed at 16.50. So boom, this thing just quietly, getting back a month's worth of losses here in one trading session. If you look at the other European banks, they're all up big too. Not nearly as much as Deutsche Bank, but Credit Suisse is trading up over 5% here. Barclays is trading up 6% here in the pre-market. Banco Santander SAN is up 6%. So you're seeing huge strength in the European financials here this morning, and that is spilling over into our financials as well. JP Morgan up 2%. Goldman Sachs trading up almost 5 points here this morning. Morgan Stanley up over 2%. Bank of America's up 2%. And it got downgraded. Didn't it catch a downgrade here today, Spencer?
Deutsche Bank?
No,
No,
Bank of
Bank
America.
of
Oh, Bank of America. Yeah, they did. They caught one from Berenberg. Downgraded.
Berenberg downgrades. It's still
yeah.
trading up 2%. So everybody's buying everything here this morning. If it gets downgraded, doesn't matter. They buy them anyways. So it's incredible. It's an incredible overnight rally. I think you catch a lot of people here. You had some people leaning maybe the wrong way here in the overall market. Joel, break down the technicals on the S&P here, because I'm wondering if we didn't catch a few people on the short side here.
Dennis, you know how I like to do my daily levels. Well, the top of the page was 2368, Dennis. So we are above any of the predicted levels I had for today. But I know what's key for today anyways, and today is just watching that overnight high is 76.75, right? So the big boys have been selling there overnight. You get over there, and then you just go to your other daily highs here, and you had one at 78.75. The all-time high is a little bit farther than this, up at 23.98, basis the rolling contract. But to me, I mean, maybe this is not like the world's greatest short off the open here, but this is just way too much, too fast when we've been in the trading range. Everyone that was buying in the 23.20s and 30s and 40s, they're going to be unloading here because there's still uncertainty.
You are the contrarian. You can't break that contrarian in you, Joel.
All right, Dennis. 3 state
We're in the
dinners.
moment. I was going to do an actual, I know he's going to get all wound up, but I was going to do a session here on an educational session on contrarian versus momentum trading. We have so many guests today. We got so much tough stuff to talk about. Maybe do that tomorrow. But this market is such a momentum market, Joel, and you still got the contrarian blood in you. You got to squeeze some of the contrarian blood out every once in a while.
This is a special contrarian situation.
I love Joel.
Do you want to hear why?
Show me the daily, because you're showing me a 5-day chart here on the S&P futures. Show me, how far we are from the highs. Enlighten us a little bit further here.
Okay.
So break that out. Show me a 3-month chart on the S&P futures.
Okay.
If you're going to make a bet, you got to show me a chart. Remember, I don't get futures quotes because they're too expensive. And apparently all our other quotes are going to go up soon too. So I'm not going to have any quotes at all.
You're not going to trade with any quotes. Okay. Look how long we chopped here between 23.20 and 23. We were up at 23.80 a little bit, but look at the majority of the trading action since the end of March has been between 23.20 and 23.60, right? All right, everyone trading, getting really chopped up in this range. So everyone that did all the accumulation, all the buying here, unless you just think that this is the greatest thing, we're just going to go straight up to new all-time highs, then why not sell? Why not, coming up to the end of the month?
What if I do think we're going straight up to all-time highs?
Then you buy off the open, and you make a bet.
How far are we off all-time highs?
Basis the rolling contract here, which is the June right now, 23.98. That's basis the rolling contract. So
and we are at 23.
We closed at 23.47.50.
And we're trading right now at 23.70-ish?
23.75.
Okay. So we're within striking distance here. I think.
Okay, go ahead. Make a market.
So we're at 23.75 right now. I will say 2,400, which is a new all-time high, and I'll give you. Do I really want to do this?
23.50.
The problem is, if you can break back.
That's such a fair bet. Okay, done.
It's such a. I didn't say it yet. He's jumping. All done. You see how he pulled the trigger on for me? He pulled my own trigger. I'm still thinking and contemplating here. We haven't had a bet in a while, though. Let's do it. 2,400 versus 23.50. Is it 23.75 for real?
It is. I'm looking at it right now.
You could be tricking me here.
No, look it. It's right on here on the screen. Right. So
2,400, 23.75. I think we can go up to all-time highs here. I just think you can't stop this market. We were even bullish last week. Me and who was our guest on Thursday or on Friday? It was Tim Anderson. Remember, we were bullish. We were coming. Tim was bullish.
Right.
I'm jumping on the bull. I'm staying on the bull train. I haven't got off the bull train here yet.
Are we going to lunch or steak dinner?
That's lunch. You can't get those steak dinners back. You owe me two of them. We got to
Okay.
go to Ruth's Chris here sometime. But okay, we keep digressing here. Let's get to the earnings parade. There's three earnings stocks. We are getting the heart of earnings season. Not a ton here this morning, but let's talk Hasbro because Mattel did not do good because of Barbie. Apparently, that did not affect Hasbro whatsoever because Hasbro is trading up right near, I believe this is actually, near all-time highs.
The Q1 EPS here is 43 cents versus 38 cents. The gap is 54 cents versus 38 cents. Sales of $849.66 million versus $827.33, so they beat that number nice and handedly.
And the stock, if you were following Mattel's lead, you were getting punished here this morning. Mattel got absolutely murdered on Friday. Falls from 25 down to 21.79. We've been saying for a while, sympathy has not been working. I know like the banks and stuff, they all move together, but if you're playing off of earnings, when one stock reports, a lot of times the sympathy has been working as well as it has in the past. You might get a move in the general direction, but it doesn't work. Even Hasbro opened weak, but it could not. It actually closed green despite, on Friday, despite Mattel's weak report. And now all of a sudden you get a good report out of Hasbro, and boom, your pair traders are slamming their heads against the wall because Mattel, Hasbro not working here, and Hasbro trade up near all-time highs.
And Dennis, you got to be out there buying this, right? You're not a contrarian investor.
I got you buy everything.
101.50. That's where we're trading at.
Tesla to $1 billion market cap.
Former all-time high was, you got an old double top at the 101 area. Here we are trading 101.50, not backing off. So, Dennis, you're going to be buying this up to 110.
I'm not buying,
yeah.
and we don't do recommendations here on the show, obviously. So, a lot of jokes here right now. But that being said, I'm not coming out here short in Hasbro this morning. I mean, this market is strong. This is a good report. I think you have some people who were probably short going to the report just because of Mattel, and they are getting punished here this morning. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised those people scramble. I think Hasbro does hit an all-time high here today in the regular session. All-time high, well, we're trading over it right now, 101.08. So we're over it right now. So I think, so it's not a very bold bet when it's trading above it in the pre-market. But, yeah, when stocks are making new all-time highs, that's the last thing I want to do is short them. Right. It's all air.
I would say if it doesn't hold 101, that old former all-time high, you could see some downside. But right now, trading right at the highs of the pre-market session, 101.50.
Yeah, and then let's jump over to Kimberly-Clark, which is a stock that is trading down here in the pre-market. And you got to think, this is defensive too. So, the defensive stocks actually don't do as well on these types of days. They follow your TLT more, and your TLT is getting the beats here this morning. It's down 1%. So just because the market's up doesn't mean every stock's going to be up. But Kimberly-Clark did report. Spencer, KMB, what the earnings look like?
Q1 EPS of $1.57 versus $1.55. Sales of $4.5 billion versus $4.5 billion. So they're pretty much in line.
That's okay. But the stock is, again, defensive stock. This is a risk-on day. They ain't interested in Kimberly-Clark. I'll say it right now.
Yeah, Street leading the right way into this one. Came hard off the last two sessions from 133 to 130. Now trading at 127.45. Pretty easy to find the potential support points in this. You had one low when we were streaking up here at 126.78. So that's one potential area of support. And then the low on the day before that, 123.71. So get
some error. You're telling me there's some error here.
Major error here in Kimberly-Clark.
Yeah, I think it could, and it depends. I mean, we're on a weekday, we're on a weekday for, consumer. Actually, the consumer XLP was trading up this morning, but typically these stocks don't do as well when the market's going straight up. So that's why I think they're going to be moving in out of issues like this and probably into the banks and the risk-on issues. So I'm not interested in picking a bottom here in Kimberly-Clark. And then the last one to report here this morning of the majors, Halliburton, HAL, trading up 2% here, so it must have been a good report, Spencer.
Yep, Halliburton reported Q1 adjusted EPS of 4 cents. They beat that by a penny. Sales of $4.28 billion versus $4.26 billion. So
stock is trading up 2.5% here in the pre-market, 48.5. It's kind of open. I mean, it's been a horrible downtrend here, and there's overhead supply all over the place here in oil. So I don't know if I'm chasing this one here either. Joel, quick thoughts, then we got to go grab Dan Zanger.
Okay, you're trading at 48.30. That corresponds with your two-day high at 48.26, and then a triple top just under the 49 level. So see if we can clear that 48.26. Spencer, we got a
Yep,
guess.
8:15. Time to go grab Dan Zanger. He's a momentum trader, the founder of ChartPattern.com. We'll be right back with Dan.
Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's pre-market prep, brought to you by Benzinga Pro. I'm your co-host, Joel Elconin, along with Dennis Dick and Spencer Israel. And we have Dan Zanger on the line, a momentum trader and founder of ChartPattern.com. Dan, are you as excited about these French elections as the market is?
Not really. I don't. I just don't see what the big pop is. I know the market's been pretty much sleepy here, waiting for something to happen. Either, I noted last night in my newsletter, it was either going to be the French elections or the resolution of the debt ceiling, one of the two. And I don't. I really don't see what the French election. It's just a runoff. There's going to be a runoff. So this could just be a your basic gap and. Head to the restroom thing, as they say, gap and crap, so to speak.
That's a new one. I got to write that down.
Write that down. That's right. But you've never heard that, I'm sure. So it's I just don't see it. But especially when you have the debt ceiling and Mr. Trump throwing lots of tack-ons into the debt ceiling fight, so to speak, instead of a clean debt ceiling rise, which is really, I think, what he should be doing. But, he's the president, I'm not, so it is what it is. But I just don't see large $6, $8, $10 gaps holding. Probably get whacked early in the morning, and then you might see some rebound later on, but or even further selling later on, but. I'm just going to watch it. I'm not going to jump on anything. I'm certainly not going to buy anything here, up like this in the morning. It's usually a sucker's trap.
Okay. I just want to go back to your history a little bit. And I know we always talk about that great run that you had, but I know that great run was preceded by a not-so-good run. And
market collapsed after that, which they usually do. Markets have spectacular runs, and then they usually retrace. And we had one hell of a doozy run. We had one hell of a doozy retrace. So anytime you get those big runs, you got to be on the lookout for a substantial break. And we certainly got one from March of 2000 to March of 2003, an 80% retracement. It was downright brutal. If you're a professional trader and you're watching the screen all day long, it's hard not to want to do something. So, it was, made tons of money going up and gave a good chunk, coming back down. So, but I'm back, so
okay.
I'm happy camper there.
Just wanted to get some of that, from, either before you had the big run and you needed to, get back in the market, or afterwards. Just what were some of the lessons? I mean, there had to have been, some trading lessons that, that you still probably stick to today. I was just wondering if you could share a few of those.
Well, I learned how to sit on your hands,
Okay.
I learned how to not trade. Learn how to sit around and do nothing. Wait for setups to happen. Wait for the right market to come around again. I never believed that the market would have retraced 80%, even though afterwards, doing some research and some being learned, as you say, big blow-off markets retrace 80%. So the bigger the move, the bigger the retracement, as they say. So. learned a lot, learned how to sit on my hands, learned how to take vacations, so to speak, and not worry about the market until it gets, that things get right again. And it took 3 years for that market to start to, calm down, and it put in an inverted head and shoulders and started to take off. So, and a lot of little stocks started to take off, which was really good. I know, when little stocks run, the market's a little bit more speculative, and that means that institutions are more comfortable that the market's going to move, and they're likely to get into small cap stocks. And when the market is ready to plunge, so to speak, or not be too good, they move into large cap stocks because that's safety. So you can really read the market just by which indexes are moving. If the NASDAQ is moving or the Russell 2000, the market's really cooking. So if it's the S&P that's cooking and the Dow, then the market's not looking too good, basically. Even though you may have made 10 points in Home Depot or in a Walmart, that's of course that's great, but that's telling you that money's moving to safety. So you really want to be looking at NASDAQ stocks and Russell stocks, because when they start going, they really run, and that's telling you that the market is feeling, the green light is on for making money in stocks.
All right, Dan, I want to ask you about a couple of stocks that you're long on and super bullish. One of them is Shopify, SHOP there.
Mm-hmm.
They had that, we saw at least a rumor that seemed to be unfounded, was it last week now, about they're approached... they're approached by eBay, and they report earnings here next Tuesday. What are your thoughts on Shopify?
Well, Shops was one of our picks at 47 on the website. Had a nice long channel. Then they started to do some integration work with Amazon, and that really caused the stock to take off. Stock's had a 3-month run, up about 50%. Revenues are growing, but earnings are pretty flat right now. Down 1 penny, down 2 cents, down 4 cents. But revenue's up 80%. So it's a basic .com type stock that keeps or cloud stock even just keeps growing revenues and can't find any earnings. But the street's bidding it up in anticipation of future earnings. Like First Solar ran from 30 to 300 before its first chunk of earnings came out. So you got to be careful with no earnings on a lot of these stocks. They can produce earnings, but the stock can have a monster run before the earnings start to really come out. Insofar as stock starts getting toppy like this, I think it's getting a little toppy, but I'm not sure that eBay would be buying a stock like this. I don't know. Especially after the stock has run, these things, these rumors, as I call them, start to flourish when stocks after they've made big moves. I think eBay would have probably put an offer in when it was much lower, much cheaper. So that's my take on it. A lot of rumors fly. I call them lies. Institutions are trying to get out, so they create lies to get the public to buy, and that creates liquidity for them to sell. So my take is they're usually lies. I'm right about 90% of the time. So it could be that 110% where I'm wrong, but you see these lies all the time.
Agree. A lot of rumors never materialize there. Let's go to another one of stocks on your list here, which is a stock that we talk about quite a bit on the show. It's Chipotle Mexican Grill, CMG. Stock got killed for the last couple of years, really, with the whole E. coli debacle, at least for the last in 2016. But it's been having a little better 2017. It's been on the comeback trail here. What are your thoughts here on CMG?
Yeah, it's a long saucer pattern here for many, many months, 9 months or a year. Of course, Aikman's jumped in, had a little pop on that, then it retraced, really killed the people that jumped in on the Aikman news. But then now it's starting to turn around. It's above its 200-day, above the 50-day, had a nice flag pattern, and we caught it around 455 or so, and now it's like 479. They've raised prices and said that they've raised prices because they're able to, because the traffic is back. And so that should, bode well for earnings coming up. Stock has a long ways to go to get back to 700 where it used to be, where it's only at 479 now. It's expensive at PE of 360. It's going to take a while to get back into those other numbers there, where they used to be $14 and $15 per share. Right now it's about $1.32, so it's supposed to earn $8.16 and then $11 next year. Still a ways away, another year off, 2019, before they can get back up to $15 a share. But it's looking good. Higher highs, higher lows coming out of a saucer. So yeah, I like the stock.
Got multiple people in the chat asking us about Sarepta, SRPT. Not sure if you follow this one or not, but if you could, maybe you could break down some technical thoughts on this one, SRPT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it broke down hard. I mean, it had a big flash run, one-day wonder, as I call it, going from 30 basically to about 58, then topped out at 63, and then it's been downhill ever since for the past 6.5 months or so. It's gone from 60 to 30, so, it's a 50% break. It's much more than a 50% retracement. It just really got walloped coming back down. Sitting below the 200-day right now. It's got maybe a double bottom in place, maybe a triple bottom in place. Looks like it really needs some serious good news, or an FDA approval or something like that to get it going again. It's not a stock that I would be interested in right now.
Just one comment on that. Jen McNary and her boys were in Barron's over the weekend, and Barron's had a very bullish article on SRPT. A lot of the insurance companies are starting to pick up. Also, they mentioned it as a potential takeover candidate.
What about...
Yeah, well, they all are, aren't they? They're all potential this and potential that, and of course, Barron's knows that insurance companies are out picking them up. I mean, if that news is in Barron's, and either Barron's is making phone calls or they're reading 13 D or F filings or something that were 6 months ago or something like that, who knows? They may have flipped out of that position by now. Why would it makes no sense? Why insurance companies would be picking it up and not biotech fund managers. It's another goofy article from Barron's.
Dan, another stock I want to get your thoughts on is Bioverativ, BIVV.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites. It's a spinoff. I think it's I forget the name of the company, Repligen or something like that.
I think it was Biogen. I think Biogen spun it off.
Spun it off, and they've got spectacular earnings. Earnings up 60%, 216%. On the last earnings, to 216% to $212 per share. Revenues up 47%. Last quarter earnings up 60%. Revenues up 43%. So it's got tremendous growth here. PE of 14. Value Act came in and picked up massive quantities of shares at around $45. I picked it up at 47. I traded out about 48. Bought back in about 49, 50-ish. I think it's at 57 now. I'm not sure. PE of 14 growing at this, it just seems so undervalued to me. It's either, earnings are not really going to be that good the next quarter or they'll just continue to march along. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but earnings coming out May the 3rd, and I'll probably reduce my position or sell all the way out before earnings. I hate to get trapped when the stock gets crushed, so I definitely will be reducing. But I do like the stock quite a bit here. It just seems to have everything together, and from what I can see right now.
All right, I lied. This is the actual last question. Do you have any thoughts on GoGo?
On what?
GoGo? G-O-G-O?
GoGo? Boy, that's a blast from the past. I don't know. What do they have? A GoGo, you come on, while you're in the air and you fall asleep waiting for your page to load. Boy, that technology is so slow. All of them are slow. Panasonic and GoGo. There's just no alternative, though. Revenue's up 16%. It looks like it's trying to turn around. It's just got, it's losing $1.50 a share. Revenues are only up 16%, so they're basically giving away the farm to get revenues. It looks like something I wouldn't touch with a 200-foot pole. Maybe it gets to 15 from here. It's 12:30 now. Maybe it gets to 15 or something on an earnings pop. But it's not. It certainly isn't something that attracts my attention or my cash.
All right, we've been on the line with Dan Zanger. He's a momentum trader and the founder of ChartPattern.com. You can find all of Dan's picks and pans and insights on that site. Dan, thanks so much for hopping on today. We will talk to you again soon.
Hey, guys, thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye-bye.
S&P futures just hanging up here, 23.74.75. really not trading much. Pre-market high is what we're all keeping an eye on. 76.75. Dennis, we got about, 30 seconds before we see all these major buy imbalances?
Well, we're seeing them right now, and there's a few, but you know what? It's kind of quiet, actually. Considering how much we're up, I thought we were going to see buy imbalances across the board. We do in the financials. Bank of America, 213,000 to buy. Morgan Stanley, 194,000 to buy. Citigroup, 119,000 to buy. Those are substantial. Those are big buy imbalances for this 8:30 in the morning. And we know when we talk these, we're talking about the liquidity we're going to look at 9:30. So this is for the NYSE Open. And just looking, those are the ones standing out to me. There are some smaller buy imbalances. Again, we are very early here, though. So I'd imagine most of those are going to grow. I don't see anything really jumping out at me except the financials right now, though.
All right, 8:30 here. We got Tommy Lackey coming on in a few minutes. Should we do some more
Well, there's
earnings?
a couple. I want to talk the deal. There was a deal here overnight, or actually over the weekend here. And if you bring up BCR, CR Baird is trading up 20% here in the pre-market. It's up 48 points. Spencer, give us the details. Looks like BDX buying them.
Yep, BDX is buying BCR for $317 per share. It's about $223 a share in cash, and the rest is in stock.
Do you have a ratio? Did they actually say how much?
It's 0.5077 shares of BD stock, 2 shares of Bard stock.
BDX, right?
Yes,
yeah.
BDX.
Okay, so that's your ratio. So you risk arbs out there 0.5077 because we know there's a lot of listeners that like to trade the deals. 0.5077 is your ratio on that. Obviously, the cash is taken out of that. So that's why you see BDX is actually trading down 6 points here in the pre-market. And that's why BCR is a little bit a ways off of where that price would be because it's got to adjust. It's going to move 50 cents for every buck that BDX moves once the risk arbs get a hold of it. Upgrades, downgrades. We got 3 minutes here. There was a couple I wanted to note, and then you can jump in, Spencer, if I missed any. XLNX, Xilinx, that's getting upgraded here. Outperform at Credit Suisse. Stock trading up 3% here this morning. This is the big one that stood out to me here. It's interesting setup here on the technicals. Joel, can you tell us about them?
All right, trading right at the highs of the pre-market session. Xilinx here, ooh boy, right back at all-time high. Or at least a couple bucks away from that. Buck away. Pre-market high right here at 59.50. That's the bogey right there, 59.52. That was your March 24th high. And then if they can clear that triple top just below the all-time high to 60.50 level here, getting a nice boost. Are we getting any kind of volume with this? Very
2,500, pretty light.
Yeah, light volume. Keep a real close eye on 59.50.
Spencer, what else jumped out at you from ratings land?
I mean, as far as big names, at least big stocks, we had Disney getting a downgrade from Loop Capital. I find they don't have a ton of pull on the street there. So Disney downgraded from buy to hold at Loop. Groupon downgraded at Morgan to underweight. Those, and we mentioned Bank of America at Barenberg. I think those are the three that really jumped out to me.
Did notice McQuarrie upgrading the steel stocks to AKS, NUE, STLD, and X. I do have positions in a couple of those, so I'm going to limit my comments.
JP Morgan.
What's that?
JP Morgan also upgrading Stanley Black and Decker.
SWK.
Yep.
Let's talk SWK. I haven't talked that one in a long time. That stock took off on Friday.
I think it had earnings.
That was earnings, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just want to take a quick note here on Disney, the House of Mouse here. Trading in the green here despite the downgrade, but got a seller looking at 115 last 3 sessions, the highs between 115 even and 112. So opening into resistance, the big move in the SPOOs, pulling that up. And I was just looking at my notes from yesterday. Did we get any upgrades for McDonald's today?
No, we didn't actually, but it is trading up here in the pre-market.
All right, the analysts have been loving that one. Red candle on Friday here, peaked out just under 134. So we'll see how the run in Mickey D's is going. Dennis, one quick stock. Did you get any GE off the open? Did you see the pre-market range in this thing? And then
they killed it.
What happened?
No, it's just one of those where, it was trading, and it really wasn't trading up much. It was kind of leaking a little bit. They opened it up at the highs, and they spanked it. And they spanked it down over a point. You see this happen sometimes, and we talk about pre-market trading, and I will tell you, and I'll say it again, 90% of your institutions don't trade in the pre-market, and it's institutions that move price. So just because, you got to always look at volume, you got to always look, as what's happening in the pre-market. Is this, wide, or is it a few, players maybe bringing it up? It was still digesting its earnings report, and the real money came in, and they decided they want to sell it, and they hit it hard. And GE obviously opened and went down over $1 from where it opened that. And that's a huge move for General Electric, but we talked about it too. It was still in the trading range, like even when we were talking 30.50, 30.60. There's just been sellers up there. Well, sellers came in hard, and they knocked it right back down to the lower end of the range. So that being said, GE is still range bound here, pretty much between 29.5 and 30.5. It just traded its entire range on Friday, though.
Do you see it go to 30.99?
No, I did not. That couldn't have been the regular session. It must have been pre-market.
Yeah, it went to 30.99. So volume.
All
traded.
numbers.
Yep. Are we?
Yeah, I was gonna say let's bring on Tommy on the hopper. Let's bring Tommy on live.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like a little
Tommy, listen, you're coming in hot.
Spontaneity today. So Tommy Lackey, of course, joins us every Monday. He's the managing partner and PM at Relativity Capital Advisors. Tommy, we're with you.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Doing
You're
great.
coming in hot. You're on a hot mic. We didn't even take a break, so we got you live here, Tommy. We're doing good. How you doing?
Doing great. Ready to get this week started. Looks like we have a little interesting action to start with.
Oh yeah, big interesting action here with the big. What are your thoughts here? Overall market first before we jump into individual stocks, because me and Joel were making a bet here this morning. I think you might have caught a few people. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually not challenging the highs, but we made a bet that he's got on the S&P futures 2350, and I got 2400. I say we make a new high before we drop 25 points. Where are you on this, Tommy?
I think it's hard to say anything until we get past the first 30 minutes. Because markets always tend to do things we don't necessarily like. But the reality is, I think that the way we acted last week, when we talked last week, I said the chances were that we had potential for more downside follow-through, but we were getting oversold and people were bearish, way over bearish for how close we were to the high still. And so we had a chance of bouncing and see how that worked. And well, it worked. And then with the event this weekend going pretty much as expected, there weren't any big surprises like with Brexit or with the election or anything like that. And so here we are. So, it's hard to go in, like Dan said a few minutes ago, you don't want to go in and buy anything right away. But, you kind of let things settle and see how they're acting after the first half an hour. And then you start trying to pick your points. But unless it does fade hard, I am probably more on your side, Dennis. But I'm bad about being an optimist.
I'll take that though, Tommy. So let's jump into your nitro scan here. Let's just look here at a couple stocks that are jumping out to you. TTS, what do you see in this one?
Yeah, TTS, the tile shop, was interesting to me because of this big level right here around right at 21. And to me, the way it moved up early last week, got the big gap up and ran, and then that big tail usually scares a lot of people off, but we've now gone 3 days and it hasn't actually failed. So if it gets back over 21, say 2110 here, I think it's worth a shot versus 1980, which is roughly a little below that big candle's open.
Here's a small one, Intersections, INTX. I don't think I've ever traded this stock here. What are you seeing in this one?
I had never even heard of it. But
no, I hadn't
it was
either.
very interesting to me, the volume footprints you're starting to get in it and the way it's had kind of the surge on the weekly. Because last December after the elections and all that area in December, it surged up and then it moved sideways, but again, never failed. And that's always an important point when you get those big surges higher. If they don't fail, then you start looking to say, okay, can it get kind of a second round of volume? And we saw that. Now, this one right here, you couldn't buy right here, in my opinion. But I'd be watching that 420 level, 420 to 430 level, and see if you couldn't find a spot in that area. And you've got a bunch of moving averages there as well.
EXTR, Extreme Networks.
This is one of those, again, that gapped up and then pulled back. And then now it's right back up to that level. The two interesting things on this one are, number one, they couldn't close the gap. And that's always something I like to watch for, is if they push it down and they can't close the gap, then that means you still have buyers that are interested enough, because we all know how much the markets love to close gaps, loves to fill voids. So at this point, I think this one, if you see it get over the 750 area, I think I put in here for a half an hour. I think I put that in there to make sure. If I didn't, for 30 minutes, it's one of those where if it holds over for that long, then you can start trying to find a place to trade against. And those moving averages right there in that area would be a good area against around 705.
One more before we get to your meltdown scanner there, Tommy. Let's look at TMHC, Taylor Morrison Home.
Yeah, small home builder people don't know as much about. I mean, small, it's a little over $1 billion market cap. People don't know as much about this one as the others, and it's just continued to kind of work its way up in a really, really nice-looking weekly trend. It did have that gap down back in March, but then it just really has recovered since, and now we're back at the highs. You had the bad candle on Thursday, but again, it's one of those to where if they can't continue to sell it off, it climbs back over it. You got a good shot this one continues.
All right, Tommy, I want to get to your meltdown stocks now. A company that I just switched over to, T-Mobile. What do you see in TMUS?
Well, number one, they have earnings. I believe it may be today after market close. And that's one thing I want to make sure everybody realizes is I did not put earnings dates on all these, so you definitely need to check that as well. I did put at the bottom to do your own due diligence, and that's part of it. So, but with TMUS, it's a scenario to where they have a good bit of notable options trading in this name starting coming up recently, and then they're in a great-looking ascending triangle right here. And then, of course, there's been continuous M&A chatter around them as well. So those are three things that tend to make me keep an eye on it. And I love ascending triangles like this. If it pops over that, it can have a nice little short-term run.
Another one on the meltdown scanners is Barracuda. What do you see there?
Barracuda is kind of one of the look both ways plays. It's basically gapped down on earnings. It's now down, and it's trying to hold those lows, but it might not. If it doesn't, then you're probably heading to around 18. You got some better support in that area, previous highs. But if it can get back over, I'd say around 2050, then this one might retrace at least up to where the gap starts. And then, of course, we know if they get in the gap, they'll do their best to close it. So you have those two scenarios there if it's higher. So it's a look both ways play.
And another one, a natural resource, NRP.
Yeah, NRP looks to me like it wants to continue to break down. It's sitting right on a ledge. However, the 200-day SMA is right here as well. So this is one I think I put in my notes that if this one can bounce back and get a weak bounce up, as we've talked about in previous weeks, to that 34.50, 35 zone, then it might be a good short setup. If it bounces up there with strong volume and you get a good reversal type pattern, then of course you would pass on it or go long.
And then one of my favorite tickers is a Wire, Encore Wire, WIRE. What do you see there?
Yeah, Wire is one that just looks like it's in a pretty decent down channel. It is coming into some support right there at that 42 level. It breaks it, it's probably going to continue, and right now it does look like a bear flag. It's sitting right on the 150 moving average. However, same with all of these, as you get a trend like this, and it starts to put some potential indicator divergences, things like that in there. If this one gets back over 43, then you could get a very short-term bounce, I would say, up to the 44, 45 level. But I would not be expecting much more until after that 45 level is breached.
And then another one from the meltdown scanners here that you're looking at is CVX. What do you see there?
Well, in Chevron, energy's been in a real bad spot. It's been a real tough one, and it's continuing in a down channel right now. So, this one under Wednesday's lows, I think you are continuing. But again, energy's been down for a good while, and if we do get some positive news back in the markets in general, you might see that trade reverse. So if you're going to short this one after being in a downtrend this long, you just want to make sure you're very nimble.
Question from the chat here, Tommy, from Rob Hood. He wants to know about RLGY.
I think I looked at this one last week but didn't put it on. Yeah, I mean, it just looks like it's a continuing It came off the 50-day very strong, which is a good sign when you have a rising 50-day, and the bounce off it has a good strength to it. And now at this point, I mean, it's hard to trade until it gets over 30, but if it pops over that 30 area, I think you can see more continuation. To me, the next big level on this chart comes in right around 32.50 or a little higher than that.
Tommy, stock that was in Barron's with some favorable ink. Dan Zanger was not so favorable on it. Sarepta, SRPT, stock trying to get off the mat here. 63 down to back under $30. Any thoughts on SRPT?
Yeah, SRPT is, again, you're in the biotech area, so you can always have a lot of different crazy stuff going on. I'm trying to look up real quick while we're talking to see if something else is in the options plays there. But when you look at this one, it's basically just in a triangle and a coil. So it could go either way, and it's hard to say which way at this point. It is above most of the shorter-term moving averages, but right above the 33.70, you have the 200-day moving average. And a little bit of a resistance cluster, in my opinion. So I think this one is hard to gauge right here. I don't think I can put a big. Let me see one thing, though, before we move on, because I think I remember hearing some talk. Yeah, most of the notable options trades since late April or late March have been pretty bullish. So that's one of those scenarios to where you've seen a run up. You're now seeing it pause here in the middle of this consolidation. So over the 33 or 32 and a half highs, maybe you give it a shot because of some of this bullish options here for the May stripe. So that may be worth looking at.
All right, Tommy, I just got one final thought or question here with you. On days like this, what are you looking for? I mean, the SPOOs are all 27 points. I know for me, I'm looking at the pre-market high to see if that's taken out. Early in the day, what are you watching on your screen to say, okay, this is just a big fade off the French election, or man, oh man, just get ready to go to 2,400. What indicators do you look at early in a session to see if this market's going to hold?
Well, I just try to watch how the markets in general are acting, and also how the bigger names and the bigger players, both sectors and individuals, are acting. If you have some of your mainstays in there acting pretty well, then great, you stick with it. If you don't like it to get under the gap open, but honestly, if it can hold half of the gap into the morning and find some support there, that wouldn't be a terrible thing at all. But, you get anywhere below that area, and you can probably just kind of sit back and wait for it to find something. I wouldn't be trying to punch at it once it gets below that area.
All right, our Monday morning guest, Tommy Lackey from Relatively Capital Advisors, giving some longs, some shorts, and some holds there. Tommy, thanks a lot. We'll speak to you again next Monday.
Thanks, guys. Hope everybody has a great week.
Thanks, Tommy.
All right, S&P futures. And Dennis, we did make this on the S&Ps, okay? So I don't want to hear something about the spiders or anything like that, okay?
You already got me on that one once. 2,400, 23.50. Where are we right now? Give me an update.
74.75.
We haven't moved. We moved a quarter of a point. That's funny. That's the disappointing thing sometimes about these markets is the big moves a lot of times happen overnight. I know Eric Consader, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago, tweeted out a chart there a while back, and it was just showing how all the big moves in the market, the majority of the big moves happen between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m., and that's when the stocks are actually closed. So, it's like the S&P futures can get driven a lot further during that time because there's no other, trading vehicles there. So liquidity is going to go down, obviously, as the arbitragers back off because they have nothing to arbitrage with. So, that's why a lot of times you see S&P futures really have their big moves overnight. And then they kind of just settle in, and the stocks kind of jump up to where they're supposed to be, and everything just settles in, and it's quiet. And, so a lot of times, and I get this question all the time when markets come, and your friends, who, aren't in the industry, they'll say, whoa, I saw the Dow up 300 points. You must have had a great day. And you're like, well, we opened up 300 points. We sat there all day. There really wasn't as much opportunity as you think there is, unless you were holding stuff overnight. So, it's kind of, just sometimes you look at the markets and you think, wow, everybody's making a lot of money today. But as traders, especially if you're a day trader, sometimes the opportunities aren't nearly as much on days like this, which is surprising to the world population.
All right, let's cover some stocks that have earnings after the close and also tomorrow morning. Sometimes you see some nice pre-earnings moves, and after the close, Dennis, Alcoa, and I will no longer be doing Klaus Kleinfeld imitations because he is no longer with the company. And also, I did see some Barron's bullishness on this issue as well. Let's take a look at the shares of Alcoa here.
It's getting a good lift. Steel, aluminum, all getting a lift here. Its beta's more than the market, so automatically when even before I bring the stock up, when I see the market trading up 1.2%, I'm thinking Alcoa is probably going up 2% today. It's not quite up that much. It's trading up 1.74%, but I'd expect a pretty good pop at least off the open, just because of the S&P futures. After 9:30, all bets are off. Stocks start to take on their own. Real liquidity comes in, but it's a good pop here this morning. I don't know if I'm jumping on the Alcoa bandwagon here, though. It's been pretty much in a downtrend. It's probably going to have a tough time fighting that $34 level, which is 2 points higher. So I just don't see any reason to jump in here at 32.20, 32.30.
All right, I see 4 highs at the 32.40 level. I haven't hit that yet, but if in fact you can clear that, things really open up to the $34 area. I guess Steve Straza pointing out here was ANRC that they were more bullish on. So let's
ARNC.
Okay, Dennis.
Joel's dyslexia kicking in again.
All right, this one is a little bit quieter here. I think it got hit on the day Kleinfeld resigned, but a couple tight ranges here. So actually 3 days holding 26. So we'll take a look at that one. A stock here coming from the chat, and let's do the old GoPro Amberilla, man. Where is it?
Been a while.
AMBA. I haven't pulled it up in a while. I'm gonna say $60. Where is it at?
No.
53.85.
53.35.
What do you think of this one? Little 4-day rally here, clear 54, and we got some upside.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited here. Again, a lot of overhead supply. I mean, there's a lot better looking charts in this one here. So I see lots of overhead supply. 54 is a key critical number. It's probably going to challenge it here this morning. 53.35, probably going to maybe open over 54. But that's a big number. It's old resistance could be, or old support could become new resistance there. Little pop up there. So yeah, maybe I'd be on the more of the fading side of this trade.
All right, and GoPro here. You mentioned Amberilla. You mentioned GoPro. Quiet over the last 2 sessions. Looks like it's really trying to clear that $9 hurdle. A couple days highs right there at $9. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Another stock with earnings after the close. Well, we got a couple gold stocks, Newmont and ABX. Dennis, I know ABX is always your favorite. Let's see how that's reacting with gold down $18.
They're both getting beats. I mean, this morning here, you're going to see gold weaker here, obviously. This morning with GLD trading down, the miners are going to be weak. And it's typical risk on, risk off. I mean, these, what these stocks may do before you even bring them up. This market is so clockwork. It's a lot of algorithms that traded off of, formulas in there. And you see, when the market's trading up here, automatically the gold's going to be down. And it's very rare to see a day where we're up 1.2% and gold's trading higher as well. And here you are, gold's GLD's down 1.2% exactly. SPY is up 1.2% exactly. Algorithms controlling this relationship.
All right, and we have also after the close our Benton Harbor, Michigan company, Whirlpool. And let's see how Whirlpool has been trading here over the last couple weeks. Hit 165, put a nice triple bottom in there. It looks like if you could clear 172.50, you have some room on the upside. But I believe this one's coming off a bad earnings report last time. So see if you can make some of that ground back, Dennis. Any thoughts on Whirlpool?
Defensive stock. These stocks aren't the stocks that, you usually participate as well on days like this. That's just one thing to remember. I always say, the risk on, risk off. This is more of a risk off stock. So, not saying it's going to go down in the day, but I wouldn't expect Whirlpool to jump up 1.2% because the SPY is up 1.2%.
And a couple big boys tomorrow. Caterpillar, a stock that was in the news, And I remember just watching this, and with all the bad news that it had on it, it really wouldn't take out $90. Remember, it like had the news, went down to 90, went down to 90, popped back up to 98. Now kind of just sitting in the middle. If you're trading CAT today, tomorrow, you're through the actual earnings event, keep an eye on the 3 or 4 lows here, right at $93. As of course, it's trading up here, $1.38 at 95.70. On the upside, keep an eye on 96. That was your 3-day high.
Setting on the hands on this one. It's right in the middle. I don't see anything here. And earnings coming up. I'll just wait for the earnings report.
Boeing reports after the close. Been trading between 170.
Is that after today or that's after Tuesday's close?
I'm sorry.
That's Tuesday.
That's Tuesday morning. I went into Tuesday.
Tuesday morning is Boeing.
Oh, so we could talk about that tomorrow. But
can we get some imbalances, Dennis?
Yeah, I'll give you an update here. So let's just jump over it. They've grown. They've grown quite a bit. Bank of America now 591,000 to buy. Morgan Stanley, that's huge, 239,000 to buy. Citigroup 139,000 to buy. So your banks are getting buy and balance. We're starting to see the trend happen here a little bit with the risk on risk off. Verizon 140,000 to sell. Again, AT&T and Verizon move more with the TLT than they move the SPY. So for everybody who follows those relationships and stuff, a lot of times on days like this, believe it or not, AT&T and Verizon sometimes go into the red. So, and that's what I'm seeing here this morning. It looks like with that 140,000 share sell imbalance, that there's some institutions that are probably moving money out of Verizon and maybe into some of these more risk-on assets. General Electric, 173,000 to buy. That had the big range we already talked about where it got up, and they really hit it on Friday. I wouldn't be surprised. They hit it so hard if you find sellers into the bounce here, especially if you get close to that $30 psychological level there. Just jumping around. I don't see any super, huge numbers here. A lot of middle buys are 82,000 to buy. AT&T, actually AT&T has 48,000 buy and bounce, so a little bit opposite way of Verizon, but that's pretty small too. It's the financials jumping out at me here this morning. That looks like your source of strength. That looks like the sector that everybody wants to be in here. Whether that continues after 9:30, I don't know, but it looks like the financials are going to open very strong.
Just a quick update on Hasbro here. We did go to 102 and a quarter, so we just got the pop on the last bracket here, but now coming back, 101 just seems to be the swing area. That was the area of the former all-time high. Just popped up to 102 and a quarter, back at 101 here. So, man, I could see this thing opening at 101 and not seeing that pre-market high of 02 and a quarter. Dennis, do you want out of your bet right now? S&T futures are at 72 and a quarter. Now
No.
dissing themselves.
No, I'm giving it to you here. I mean, if we go back and give this all back, you're going to win this bet. I feel like there could be follow through here, though. I think we might pull back a bit, but I think we're going to be. I'm still staying on the bull train here.
Can I make another bet on the comment you're going to make when I win this bet from you?
What's the comment
going to
be?
say, oh, man, I can't believe I did that. I gave up the edge. The Spoos are trading up 25 points.
I usually don't buy something when you're in that I was buying here. It's a bet, but it's just a side bet with the lunch. But you're right. I don't usually chase the market, and it's exactly going against my rules here. So you suckered me into that bet, I think. I am regretting it a little bit.
All right, and I don't know if this really caught major news, but a Fitbit device did blow up on a lady's arm, or claiming that.
What?
Oh, come on,
Spencer.
That's true.
Oh, it wasn't me. If that's what you're wondering.
Did you hear this, Spencer? Can we get a verification here that Fitbit watch blew up?
That's what a lady claimed. It
was running too fast.
It was on CNBC this morning. That's what a lady is claiming. But how about the New York Times reporting that Tim Cook almost had Uber delisted from the Apple Store? How about that?
Actually, I've just seen that. I've seen that come across.
Why? What did
because
they do
they found out that Uber was tracking people's iPhones even when they weren't using the app. Then that upset Tim Cook a lot. So this is in 2015. So and he almost had the app delisted from the store, which would have been maybe the end of Uber, but it didn't happen.
Well,
anyway.
Just back to the Fitbit, I mean, at least the watch was working and running, right? So that's like the good thing. But that is set the stock very close to a new all-time
low. It's down here today,
Yeah. All-time low in Fitbit. We made that not too long ago. 531, 533. There's a double bottom there. So if you're looking, maybe the cover is short off this bad news in Fitbit.
And wait, last thing I want to bring up before we go is American Airlines. But I didn't expect anything to happen this morning in pre-market action, but maybe give us an update, because there was the video of the weekend of the flight attendant taking a stroller with the baby inside, and a whole to do again with the airlines. But
what happened this time? I didn't hear this. What happened this time?
A flight attendant. The video I think started when the like mid altercation, but I think it was after the fact that the flight attendant had already taken a stroller or a carriage out of a mother's hands, and the baby was inside, and the baby was crying, and then another passenger came to try to mediate. It was a whole thing. It was a whole to do. Again with the airlines.
And once
so they're kicking babies off the planes now.
They try to kick a stroller, but the thing that got things going is a third party got involved with it. And so that's my advice to you. If there's something going on a plane, don't get involved.
All right.
That's good. That's good advice to close on right there.
9 o'clock now. That's about the end for our show today. Hope you enjoyed our chats with Dan and Tommy. If you want to listen to the show again, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, or you can watch it on YouTube after. Right now, actually, the show's uploaded to YouTube pretty much right away. Please remember that all the information, material, and content from today's show is for informational purposes only and not meant to be investment advice. Have a good rest of your day. Hope everyone is off to a good day so far. We'll be back with you folks on Tuesday.
Whether you're a short-term swing trader or a long-term investor, you need to check out Thinkorswim, brought to you by TD Ameritrade. There's a reason why Thinkorswim has been named the #1 trading platform, because it has it all. With Thinkorswim, you can trade stocks, options, futures, forex, and virtually every other type of order. Get notifications on mobile devices and interact with other traders in chat rooms. You can also use technical indicators and see the latest investing and trading education in Think Money magazine. If you want to keep up with the markets, you need Thinkorswim. To experience everything Thinkorswim has to offer, open a TD Ameritrade account today. Thinkorswim, the online trading platform for traders and investors. TD Ameritrade, member SIPC. All investing involves risks.